Okay, the first thing we have on the agenda is a presentation of a plaque for 30-year members from the South Dakota Municipal League Work Comp Fund by Brad Wilson. Welcome, Brad.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, my name is Brad Wilson. I'm the administrator for the SDML Workers' Compensation Fund. We provide workers' compensation to public entities in the state, cities, counties, conservation districts. And we are celebrating our 30-year anniversary this year. And I'm just here to thank you and present a plaque and congratulate you for 30 years of membership with the SDML Work Comp Fund. The City of Mitchell is a charter member when it was formed back in 1987. Your membership number is 5. That tells you how early you've been in on this. So you've been there from the beginning, and the SDML Work Comp Fund is endorsed by the South Dakota Municipal League. There's city representation on the Board of Trustees, and on behalf of them and the other members, I just would like to present you with a 30-year plaque, and thank you for your continued membership. So, Mayor, if I may approach and present you with the plaque. Yeah. So, and we'll see you all, maybe whoever's attending in October at the Municipal League Convention. So. And Billy.
Open mic night.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that I've been working with Brad since I started in HR, and the Workers' Comp Fund does a fabulous job for the City of Mitchell. They help us control our costs. We have got very good ratings with work comp, and a lot of that is due to the guidance that these people have provided. So I just wanted to personally thank Brad and everybody that works with him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. I was hoping that she would be here because we work very closely with her and Stephanie and the finance office, and so I'm glad she was here to see this. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. The approval of the consent agenda. Consent agenda items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items.
Mayor, I don't have anything to remove, but I just want to point out the surplus property list and then ask and confirm again the date and location of the surplus auction.
The date of the surplus auction is September 12th, next Tuesday, a week from today, at 5:30 on Airport Road at the north facility, the impound lot. And the whole listing will also be published in the newspaper on Saturday, and then on Tuesday, the day of the auction.
Mayor, I was just going to ask a question. Don't want anything removed, but I see our oil and gas. We had one company that bid on that, and it happened to be a company that wasn't even with us 6 months ago. So my question is, if nobody bids on these oil and gas, what do we do, Tim, to actually buy at that point? Is there a state number we go off of?
Yes, actually, Howes Oil has the state bid, and we should be able to buy off that.
Is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion about public comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Smith.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
McCardle.
Aye.
Dozier. Rice.
Aye.
Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium. State your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. Anyone?
I've had some people ask me what the progress on Duff Street is, or when it might be completed.
The city's portion is done. We've been waiting for Rex Winkle Concrete to finish the curb and gutter so we can get commercial asphalt in here to do the paving. Rex Winkle has, all of his jobs kind of came together in the last couple of weeks. We had him out last week. We think we're going to have him out probably tomorrow to finish the curb and gutter. Then it should go pretty fast getting the paving done, but we've kind of been in a holding pattern with Rex Winkle right now.
Terry, is Rex Winkle the same one that's doing the sidewalks east of Shopville area?
No.
When's that guy gonna show up?
That contractor is Victor Ridgway Top Grade Concrete. He has been doing all of our miscellaneous sidewalk work around town, and now he has started on Burns. So if you go down on Burns Street where the other area is that we did approve, he has got that area dug up, and he's starting to work on sidewalk there, and then he's going to move up to North Langdon behind Shopko.
Very good, thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move into the hearing on the application to transfer retail on-sale liquor license RL 5756 from Grace LLC at 1525 West Havens Avenue, doing business as Ramada Inn, to Bain Corporation, 1525 West Havens Avenue, Mitchell, South Dakota, doing business as Ramada Inn.
Mike, any problems? Pastor?
No, sir.
No?
Yeah, Don Peterson, I'm here on behalf of the Bain and Corp. This is just, the corporation is taking the business back from the old owner, and so it's just a transfer. They'll continue operating as is.
Move to approve.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Since we're missing one of our council members here, Marty, we're gonna skip over the Board of Adjustment things on the agenda, and that's items number 10 through 15, and move on to item number 17 on your agenda, which is action on resolution, 16. I jumped ahead of myself here. Item number 16, action on resolution number R 2017-63, which is approval of annexation south of 915 East Avenue, or East Havens, sorry.
Council members, there is a full detailed explanation from City Attorney Justin Johnson in the packet explaining the request for annexation. This item is tied with the next agenda item that you will be hearing, which is the approval of the TIF district. You'll see the petition that was submitted by the landowner included in your packet as well. See if I can talk and pull it up at the same time with the detailed description. If you looked in the TIF plan, you can see where that additional property is south of the existing pet performance area now.
I don't know who I'm asking. If we approve this and then move on to the TIF and that is not approved, then should we do some form of a motion with a contingency, or?
My understanding is you can't actually approve the TIF without the property first being annexed in.
Right.
On the application, and it does also say in his staff report that the landowner has expressed that if for some reason the land is annexed, but the rest of the performance pet product deal falls through, that they're then going to request that the land be de-annexed.
Okay.
So you do have 2 hearings on the rezoning as well, so I think you need to move forward with this step first. That was the first one that Justin wanted to see done before we approve the TIF, or you consider action on the TIF.
Okay. I'll move approval of resolution 2017-63.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on resolution R 2017-64, creation of TID number 24.
Again, a detailed explanation in your packet for you to review, and I'm sure we will hear from Don Peterson shortly. I just want to state to the council that this has went through the city's technical review committee. That was a week ago. The Planning and Zoning Board also heard this request this morning and set the boundaries and did a recommendation on the plan. I believe Neil put a copy of that on your desk as well. This TIF is structured similar to what we did with the Vantage Point TIF, whereas there is no interest tied or no debt associated with the TIF. The increment would be passed along as it's generated. We also did, again, require that they waive the discretionary formula, and the length of the TIF is limited to the 18 years or the $2.6 million, whichever one comes first. There's also requirement that the rezoning and the annexation be approved for this TIF to go into effect. If they didn't, then the TIF would go away. And we had Toby Morris do the preliminary contact with the Department of Revenue to ensure that this would be classified as either economic development or industrial development, so that you would not have to spread the school taxes locally. I believe that's the major criteria that the council has discussed on previous TIFs, so I just wanted to review those first.
And I just want to make sure there was one other item I thought I read in there of the state requirement. We have to be less than 10% of the total, and we're
well within that.
4.9 or something like that, even with this added in and not counting, well, in 2019 and 20, we'll even be better than that with other things being paid off.
As more get paid off, correct.
Okay.
And I'll let Don talk about the specifics of the expansion of the project, or I don't know if we have representatives. Yes, we do have representatives here as well. The Development Corporation will again be acting as the developer for this project, as they did for Vantage Point for the city. Don? You're not going to come and not talk today.
Stephanie did so well, I should be able to limit my presentation to a couple hours. Or a lot less. Good evening. Don Peterson, attorney representing the developer under this tax incremental district number 24, the Mitchell Area Development Corporation. Stephanie really did hit the highlighted areas. And so Brian Heisel is here. He has a few items that he can, from the Mitchell Area Development Corporation, there's a few things that he would want to address the council on. Stephanie pointed out there are representatives from Performance Pet here that can answer any questions anybody on the council may have about the project. You've all had a chance to look at the project plan. The Planning Commission received a presentation this morning at a special meeting. They approved the district boundaries, and they also made a recommendation to the council to approve the TIF and the project plan. The boundaries are set out on page see if we can find them here. Page 8 of the project plan. That's in 2 parcels. Stephanie said parcel 1 is currently owned by Performance Pet, and that lies within the city limits of the city of Mitchell. Parcel 2 is currently owned by another party. There's been a purchase agreement entered into and signed by both parties. It's conditioned upon the approval of the annexation and also approval of the rezone. But otherwise, that's ready to go. The amount of the tax incremental financing that is being requested is $2,600,000. Again, as Stephanie said, this is a 18-year TIF. We did work with the Director of Equalization. There's an estimated project cost to build the addition or the new facility of $8.1 million plus. Director of Equalization, working with that number, estimated that, based on those numbers, estimated that the annual increment to be kicked off would be something $165,000 plus. So over a really a collection term of 16 years. As you know how TIF works, we're always a year behind in real property taxes in South Dakota. So if they can start construction yet this fall, which is certainly their plan and their hope, and it's substantially completed by next November, the property would be assessed in November of 2018 for real property taxes for the year 2019 payable in 2020. So the taxes would start to be collected in 2020. They'd be collected then for the next 16 years. One of the things that the company has agreed to do is waive the discretionary phase-in of the real property taxes. Otherwise, Davidson County allows new construction, commercial, to phase in the real property taxes over a span of 5 years. First year's 20%, 40, 60, 80, 100. In this case, the developer or Performance Pet is agreeable to waive that so that they can start, the county and the city can start collecting the taxes at the full and true value. What will the project do? It will construct an approximate between 140 and 150,000 square feet. About 70,000 will be used for a new automated production facility, and I'll let Dwayne from Performance Pet talk a little bit about that. Another 70,000 feet will be used for warehousing and storage, and then there'll be about 5,000 square feet of office space. Because of the upgrades and the equipment, some of the existing employees will be retrained to be able to use those. The company is working out an arrangement with MTI to provide some training in that area. So that's a benefit. They're looking at also adding a third shift, which will bring an additional 30 to 50 new employees over about a 5-year period. So I'll ask Dwayne to come up and talk a little bit and answer any questions you have on the project itself.
Thank you, Don. Good evening, everybody. Maybe if you have questions, or I can briefly go over what the project is, whichever you would like, Mayor.
Why don't you go over what the project is briefly?
Okay, so we started off with wanting to just build a production facility, and now it's growing into building a production and a warehouse facility on the Haven Street property, as you know. As Don said, about 70,000 feet will be in production, about 70,000 in warehouse. The production facility will be state-of-the-art. It's the latest and greatest in retort systems, and I don't know if all of you had a chance to be in the cannery or not, but the retort is the heart of the cannery. That is the big pressure cooker vessels that cook that cook the product. These vessels are state-of-the-art. They're the latest technology. They're high efficient. They have an automatic loader system right now. We manually load the system. These have an automatic loader and unloader as we go. So they're very efficient. We also will put in basically all new equipment, new grinders, new mixers, new seamers, new fillers, and we'll add some more labeling equipment and more palletizing equipment and automate the process. The process will be more automated, but it'll still take probably a few more employees, even because we're going to be that much bigger. It'll run about 3 times the capacity we have today, with the ability, with a couple additions, to increase that another probably 2 times after that. We're going to put in what's called 10 retorts. There's room to put 14 in if we need to, so there's room for expansion, and we built that in deliberately so that we had room to grow going forward.
Initially, you'll be starting out with 40 new employees, is that correct?
Well, we're actually probably going to start adding those today, and so by the time we get the new facility, we should have about the right number of employees once we get to the new facility. That's the plan.
And it must be already working. I'm betting one of your workers, your manager, is Kevin.
Kevin Hubbard is here. He is our new director of Performance Pet Products. We're very excited to have Kevin on board, and he's second week, Kevin? Third week. Weeks go by faster than you think in South Dakota.
And I talked to Kevin earlier, and he's came from Arkansas, is that right, Kevin?
That is correct.
With a northern Minnesota accent.
You wonder how that happens, don't you?
And Kevin did promise me today, or about a half hour ago, that instead of being a Razorback, he'll be a Tiger. We do got another member for the Tiger team on here.
There you go.
He promised the other day to be a Twins fan.
But your TIF is already working, you got a new guy.
Yes, it is. So,
Anybody else have questions for Dwayne? Go ahead.
What's the plan for the current building that you're in then?
the current building will become a giant freezer.
Okay.
Nate and I were just visiting on that today, on what parts of it. We probably will not utilize all of it. There's some parts of it that'll make a better freezer than the other part, but that's what the plan will be. So we won't have to store product in Sioux Falls. We'll be able to store it all here in Mitchell. So the frozen blocks of meat will come in, go into the freezer, and as we need them, they'll be transferred across the parking lot to the new facility. So that's what the old facility will be used for. And we'll also do Chubb manufacturing there to start with also, like we currently do today.
Anyone else have questions?
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Dwayne.
you.
Any other questions that you guys would have so far? All right. I think Brian would like to come up and speak a little bit about the economic impact that this project has, and one of the reasons why they are asking, Performance Pet is asking for the tax incremental financing on this particular project.
Brian, you only get 1 hour.
If I take that much, you're going to turn it down. I understand that. This is a different project than what Performance Pet had planned. Farmers Union Industries did not make, their intent was not to ruin our community in terms of their location. They were making a business decision. When they asked for the interstate site to be considered, there's a 80,000 square foot building there with offices. They were going to add 70,000 square feet, and the dollar amount they were committing to equipment is approaching or over $12 million, of which you like to collect sales tax on the moment it's bolted to the ground at about a 2% rate and 4% for the state. So that was a very reasonable request if you take it from a business standpoint. When they started looking at the Haven site, which we were asking them to do, it became very clear that this is not the same project. This is not $17 million where they were putting $12 million in equipment and $4 or $5 million into building. Their building is now up exceeding $8 million plus other costs, plus the equipment, and they needed extra land. The building itself the new building is over 700 feet long to run their production process. So now you're talking about a project that's in excess of $20 million. $3 or $4 million, depending on final cost estimates that they're still working through, higher than what they had originally talked about. And that's the reason, a key reason we're here tonight, is that part of the discussions we had is let's see if tax increment is a possibility with our council and planning commission to assist in the extra costs that's causing you to put this in. We're also creating 30 to 50 jobs. We're in a location that has been a Hormel plant, a Dakota pork facility. It's always been in the industrial use. Mitchell knows where it's at and familiar with its use, so it's in the right place. It's a major new investment. We've got job creation and job retention, and it just seems like we're doing the right things in terms of our land use, and this request will assist them in putting in an even better project. And that's really what I wanted to tell you tonight. This is not an idle request because we thought it would be nice. It is necessary. They have over $500,000 of site prep. They have tree removal. the information that's up there, you can see in the red is the proposed building location. The centerpiece is for parking and truck movement. They have substantial site prep, drainage, and all of that's very important for the use of this site. And that's simply what I wanted to tell you, is that this is a better project, a bigger project, and it took a while to get there, and we're trying to get it done and underway, and your consideration of this tonight is deeply appreciated.
Brian, before you take off, I know there's another partner in this, and it's the state of South Dakota, and I know this particular company is very important to them in keeping it in the state, and I think I know we want it here in Mitchell, and thankfully looks like we're going to be able to keep it. But do you want to maybe explain a little bit how the state is stepping up with this project?
Well, the state is providing a loan package to help them with this project, so, both ready loans and bonding, to help secure both equipment and some of the plant expenses. So the loan dollars, rather than coming out of the TIF, are coming from the state of South Dakota in substantial millions of dollars of commitment through bonding and Ready Fund. And so that was part of what the package that they were proposing to help put this together. And really, rather than us having to bond for the TIF, we can do it on a cash flow basis, as Stephanie has well noted. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
So all of you in your packet got a copy of the proposed project plan. That sets forth all the criteria that's required by South Dakota statute for the approval of TIF. Unless you would have any questions specifically about that plan, I won't go through it line by line or page by page. And I'll just open up for any questions or for the council to take action.
And I believe the findings that are required are all listed in the resolution that were included in the packet as well, which is the same items that were reviewed by the technical committee as well as planning and zoning.
And the planning and zoning today passed it 5-0
Yes,
in favor of this.
right.
Any more questions of Don? Are you ready for a motion?
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve resolution 2017-64, creation of TIF 24.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'm going to finish this section here before we go backwards again, but let's finish the part with the rezoning in that area. So this is the first reading on ordinance number O-2017-14, which is rezoning certain land south of 915 East Havens from HB, which is highway business, to I, which is industrial. Anybody need an explanation on that one?
Yeah, the Planning Commission held a hearing on this request this morning, or at noon, and it's the triangle piece that's on the exhibit. That property is zoned highway business at this point, so that's not, for this project, it's not a permitted use or a conditional use for that matter. And so it's going to be consistent with the zoning of the existing facility, which is zoned industrial. So basically, the triangle piece will be industrial as well as the north piece. So, and they did recommend approval of this. I believe there's minutes. The draft minutes are on your packet.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're going to back up now that Marty is here, and I'm going to entertain him. I entertain a motion for the city council to recess and sit as a board of adjustment.
Mr. Mayor, are you going to give any chance for any people to speak about this, what you were just discussing?
On the zoning, you mean?
I was hoping to talk to you and to the council I'm a landowner which joins his property, and I was concerned when I read that they did not allow them to build their plant where you come into the city because of odor problems.
You want to come up to the microphone and give your name, please?
Okay, I should introduce myself. I'm Dan Kopel, and I'm one of the owners of the 10 acres. If you'd put that picture back up there like this one, I could explain to you where our property is. Okay, just bring it down just a bit, would you please? It'd be, I think it's a 1. Yep, that's it. We have 10 acres there. By the way, I am Dan Kopel, and I am one of the owners of that 10-acre piece of tract of land. It is partially vacant at the present time, and about a third of it is a trailer park. There are 2 permanent residences in this park and about 15 mobile homes in the park with about 40 people living there. And my concern is that if it could not be built at where you come into the city, now we're talking about building it across the railroad tracks, I guess you'd say, from a residential area. And that is my concern. That property is going on the market in about 10 days, by the way, and I don't know if it'll affect the sale of the property or not, but that is the plan of the owners. The owners are Kopel Brothers LLC, my older brother who passed away, my younger brother, and myself. And that, my concern is, if it's going to create an additional odor problem to the people who presently live within, I don't know, 100 yards of that, then I have a major concern.
Has it been a major concern as of now?
No, it has not. There's some odor that comes depending on where the wind's from. Is that
My
what you
understanding
mean?
is maybe someone from Pet Performance, or maybe Dwayne can address that, but my understanding with this is with this $12 million worth of new equipment, that's going to actually mitigate that odor even less than what it is now. Am I correct in saying that, Dwayne?
Yeah, can we approach?
Sure, Dwayne, come on.
I'm going to stalk in the mic.
Sure.
I'm going to refer the question to Nate Thomas, who's our Director of R&D and is our kind of our expert on the whole process that's going on, and let him explain to you what this new process is going to be and do, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. First of all, Mayor, to answer the question directly, the current process is actually at that site. It's exactly adjacent to the property that's in question, lot number 1 there. And what we're attempting to do is actually convert that big building that sits next to that property into a freezer. Freezers really don't emit any odor at all. Within this new process, what we'll be doing is installing a state-of-the-art facility with new drainage systems, new wastewater systems, and state-of-the-art equipment that will reduce substantially the emissions from the facility. And so what we're looking to do is actually improve upon what we have in that particular site right now. And so, you know, occasionally you'll see odors come out of, you know, almost any manufacturing site or agricultural center in the city. But what we're attempting to do is actually reduce that. And we're not doing it to reduce it, but part of the process of improving our plant and the systems will actually do that. So, you know, we don't necessarily see that as something that's going to further anyone's misery within this area. We hope to enhance their quality of life by installing this operation here.
Does that help answer your question or your concern, Dan?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Is there going to be an odor or not an odor?
We hope to substantially reduce any odors that are generated from that facility.
That doesn't really tell me much, that you're going to reduce the substantial odors. That doesn't tell me anything.
Well, we can't promise that there's not going to be any odor coming out of any facility. You know, currently I spend most of my time living in one of the hotels, and there's a tremendous amount of odor around that hotel 2 days a week. We're not going to produce anything on that magnitude of aroma. You know, there might be an occasion where you'll still see the same waste hauling trucks that come into the facility, but the odor itself, or the facility itself, will not generate odors per se.
But still, the project was refused, I think, by the city council because of the odor problem where you were going to build coming into town.
Actually, I think that was a misunderstanding, to be honest with you, and that's just based on what the newspaper reported. Unanimously, what they refused the project up in town for had nothing to do with aroma, and it had everything to do with the fact that they didn't want that site in that particular area to impede future growth in that particular area. And so, yeah, we did have questions about odor at that site, and I know that's what the newspaper reported, but that's actually not what the discussion was at that public hearing that we had.
You have, that's a highly congested area where you're talking about building. You have Chef Louis, a large restaurant. You have a lot of office spaces, blood bank across the street, on another bank. I mean, that's not a out of the way kind of an area.
There's no question about that, and I can say that up until this point, we have not received any complaints from any of those businesses.
But you've received one today from me.
Well, okay, we received one from you for that land, but that building is in existence right now, and it's currently adjacent to your property.
That's right. And
so,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure, Dwayne, go ahead.
Is there a complaint log? Is there a list of complaints that have been odor issues with the facility before? Is there a complaint log someplace?
Not that I'm aware of.
This is the first complaint I've heard, so.
I'm not aware of any log like that.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I don't know if
Thank
anybody
you.
else in the,
I'm going based on the fact that the report in the Daily Republic, which I'm assuming is somewhat correct, states that the project was refused to be out on the edge of town where you come into Mitchell because of an odor problem. That's what I believe the Daily Republic reported. And now we're talking about bringing it into town, closer into town, along a 4-lane highway. And if there's that type of a problem, you're going to have a lot of people affected.
it's in the same location though, Dan, it's just that it's going to be a bigger facility.
Yeah,
In
I realize
in that area right now
That's
is
why I asked the
industrial.
question, what is the odor problem going to
Well-
be? And I didn't really hear an answer.
It's going to be less than what
It's
you
gonna be less than what it
currently
is now, is what you're
experience, is what they
saying.
told you.
I was on the planning commission today at noon, Dan, and a couple of them asked that question about order, and they believe that with the new facility, there'll be less order, and they addressed that, and they addressed it very good. And then they addressed another one with education on their workers, and they are working with MTI on that. So and that's why it did get passed, and that's what they all agreed upon, 5-0, Dan.
Yeah, I couldn't make the meeting this noon, I would have been there otherwise.
But
Well,
we never had one come into the planning commission, and I've been on through the TIF committee, and I've been through the planning commission, now I'm through the council. I've heard it 3 times, and Dan, you're the first one.
Yeah, well,
And that's fine, that's fine.
I'm not here to
No, I
stop
know.
progress.
I know
I'm
you-
sure you know that, Dan.
Yes, I know that.
And, but I have that concern. I have
And you should.
I have 30, 40 elderly people living there, mostly elderly ladies. And we don't have the greatest park in town, but it's home to these people. Plus, there are 2 permanent homes there also. And that my concern is for them. Okay?
But I do believe it's better, and I think there'll be no difference.
If it's going to be that much bigger, I don't know how the odor is going to be less, but we'll have to wait and see. But once it's built, it's built. So I felt I should come down and voice that complaint, and it's a complaint only if it turns into an odor problem. That's my only complaint. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And members
Thank you,
of the
Dan, for your
council.
comments.
do you have any other questions of us?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion for the city council to recess instead of the Board of Adjustment.
So move.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Here.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First item is action to set the date for the Board of Adjustment hearing for September 18, 2017. Todd and Nancy Boyd are requesting a backyard, which is the roadside variance of 16 feet versus 25 feet as required, and a front yard, which is the lakeside, variance of 24 feet versus 25 feet as required for construction of a new home. The property is legally described as Lot 96, Indian Head Subdivision, Lake Development Plan, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, at 191 South Harmon Drive. The property is zoned RL, which is Residential Lake District.
Motion set the date.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a hearing on CJG Properties LLC for the property at 1821 West 8th Avenue. There's a motion to table. Planning does not have a recommendation at this time. CJG Properties LLC is requesting a conditional use permit for construction of a self-service storage facility with varying compartment sizes, 50 to 400 square feet per compartment, with the stipulation the property be adjacent to a major collector or arterial street as designated by the Public Works Department. The property is legally described as lots 1 through 6, Block 3, Home Park, Original Edition, Davidson County, South Dakota, 1821 West 8th Avenue. The said real property is zoned R4, High Density Residential District.
Basically, the planning commission had some questions of the application, and
Okay.
so they referred it back to them for their further review, but it's just so it would be appropriate if you would just table it for 2 weeks so they'll review it again.
Okay, I guess, and Justin's not here, but a question, the drainage things that we just passed in the last meeting, do those now apply to this, and that is one of the items? And one of the other ones, it listed on there, a major arterial street, but does 8th Street
It is.
pass city
It's on our master
property
plan right there, yeah.
count as,
Yeah.
so that does qualify, that 8th Avenue, I guess, would, okay, I was wondering.
Yeah, that was, if not, I wouldn't have even processed it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so, yeah, 8th is a signal.
I will make the motion to table. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a hearing on CJG Properties for the property at 1821 West 8th Avenue. Again, a motion to table. Planning Commission does not have a recommendation. CJG Properties LLC is requesting variances for construction of self-service storage facilities with varying compartment sizes, 50 to 400 square feet per compartment, with the stipulation the property be adjacent to a major collector of arterial street as designated by the Public Works Department. The variances are as follows: front yard of 10 foot versus 25 feet, side yard on a corner of 5 feet versus 15 feet, the backyard of 8 feet versus 25 feet. The property is legally described as lots 1 through 6, Block 3, Home Park, Original Edition, Davidson County, South Dakota, 1821 West 8th Avenue. The said real property is zoned R4, High Density Residential District.
Kind of same story. They did table this one this is the variance request, so that's why it's two different issues.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a hearing on Tara Eldine, 176 South Harmon Drive. Tara Eldine has made an application for a home occupation / conditional use permit to operate a beauty salon in her home located at 176 South Harmon Drive, legally described west 75 feet of Lot 12, Block 2, Indian Head, 2nd Edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. Property is zoned RL, Residential Lake District.
just, point out the obvious that there is only 6 of you here today, so this does require 6. So just wanted to remind that as you consider this hearing. The Planning Commission did hold a hearing on this request, and they'd have a recommend for denial. One letter came in after Planning Commission meeting and with their stating their opposition, but we did get a couple of them back. With that, I think kind of the gist of them was that there isn't a lot of home occupations around the lake, and so this was unique to that. The applicant is here if you do have more specific questions about what her plan is. So
I think you all have in front of you too a letter that came from one of the
one of the
homeowners
neighbors
in the area that we just got.
kind of the same theme. So
How many homeowners out of the area
got letters?
disapproved?
I think there was just, well, one was just, it was approval if they addressed it parking. Let me see how many were sent. It should be in the packet somewhere. Okay, there's
one in the back.
yeah. And that one was approved if the parking was taken care of. And then,
Their neighbors
how many,
like
yeah, there's a listing, should be a listing in there, how many neighbors there are?
There's 9 other neighbors.
9 other neighbors? Okay, thank you.
Want to approve and one to disapprove?
The letter that they
Yep.
out, is that one of
To
the
approve,
two
one
that's in
no.
the packet?
One approval,
No,
one
that one came
disapproval.
just this afternoon, so.
So you've heard
3, yeah. The rest of them did, those are only 3, we got 3 back.
Neil, you made a comment that there's not many home occupations.
I'm not aware of
Are
any.
you aware of any?
I'm not aware of any, so that doesn't mean there aren't any. I'm just not, we haven't done one in, at least in my time, and I'm not aware of any. That's, but,
Only closest one I know is we did Bob Porter years ago, but he wasn't exactly, well, she's not on the lake either. She's across the lake, and so is Bob Porter across the lake. I mean, across the
Oh,
road.
yeah.
He does a cleaning business. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, obviously, we all know at one time the Kralls had a busy 6-boat stop. And they had a business down there, filled with gas. So it's not like the first time we've had a business in the lake area, I guess what I'm trying to get at, so.
So
It just-
given the zoning, that's the lake that's out there, is there anything in there? Obviously, there isn't because it went to the planning commission, so is there any other areas in town that make these claims that city council has history of denying this, which I've never have since I've been on council, but is there any other areas that you can think of in
I
town
do-
that are residential areas?
I do know there are some developments have their own covenants on, so that's probably why we sometimes in some certain particular developments, we don't receive them, because some of them do have their own covenants on. I'm not aware of any that, because I think home occupations, the only thing around the lake, actually on the shore, in the ordinance, it says you can't have childcare centers on the shore of the lake, on the shore side. You have to apply for them on the other side, but that's the only really business restriction that is unique to the lake. We said that you can't have a childcare center on the lake. The lakeside, I should
On
say.
the lakeside. Yep.
So, but,
Well, this,
Go ahead.
it took me a little by surprise that it was turned down. I guess my concern dealt with parking because I know that area, and it looks like from the letter from Tom and Marie Scott that they pretty much got parking issues kind of figured out, but I'm still a little concerned by the view or comments of this hasn't been allowed, or the council has turned all these down, et cetera. I mean, it should have the same value of going through the process as any other place in town that's zoned that way. I don't get that. So, yeah, go ahead on the
Hi, I'm
the
Tara.
parking issue, so.
And I'm the gal who wants to do business in my home, and I did bring some pictures of, I have plenty of parking in the front, in my driveway for at least 3 or 4 cars, and I can only do one person at a time, so I'll only have one person at my house.
I was going to ask you, Tara, is how many customers really you going to have at the same time? Maybe besides
One.
maybe a.
One may be
maybe a
waiting
color
5
haircut
minutes
going at the
before
same
the
time, you
next
might
one
have-
to leave.
2
Right.
at the most.
I mean, 2 at the most, maybe it ever overlap. Well, if you, I haven't started that yet. I'm not your age, Steve, but I'm just kidding.
And my plan
But I'm
is to kind of cut back. I have a salon here in town, and I had lots of girls and lots of people, and I want to stay home with my kids and do a couple people, and that's about it.
And you would have only one chair and yourself only?
Yes, one chair and myself only. And this is our back garage where we will park our vehicles, because we do have 2 lots behind our house that we park and kids can park, and I think so.
Were you able to, Tara, were you able to visit with the neighbors that had the concerns?
I was. I visited with the Scotts, and they, you know, they were worried about the parking because they live straight across from us, and they realized that I can only do one person and we have plenty. Now the Ritters, I'm not sure, because I did visit with her and she told me that they didn't even get a letter, and she thought it'd be great, so I'm not sure.
Well, if I
There.
walk across the street.
How about on the other side of him, Cal Anderson?
Yeah, I think he was fine.
He's the one that gave the
Oh.
letter. He's the one that gave the letter.
Oh, I didn't know
You
that.
didn't see this?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see. I only saw 2.
That was his letter we got today.
Yeah, it's not like it's confidential, so.
No.
No.
He came and said almost
Okay.
I
the
don't
same
know. I didn't know
statement
about
during the
him.
zoning
I do
meeting.
his whole family's hair, so I figured.
Right, so out of the
He
9,
was
people, 6
fine.
didn't
must
respond,
want
2
to
said yes,
switch it.
and 1 said no, out of your 9
Right.
that are in your circle, so to say. He's the only one that's negative. And
And why is his concern, Marty? What?
it's, yeah, Lake Mitchell is a prime residential property for the city of Mitchell. Commercial enterprise is prime residential zone, almost always has a negative impact and seldom allowed. Talks about property value possibly declining. Commercial enterprise should not be, can't even see, allowed in the prime residential property zones, no matter how minor, however we do it in other areas. City council has a history of denying prior such rate requests, which is what Steve is talking about, because that's not true. And yeah, first exemption will open the door and make future requests more difficult to deny, and he just strongly requests the council to deny, so.
So Danny, what was the sentiment of the planning commission you talked to? Because of the area?
The
or was it
planning
because-
commission said it was because it was R4 or R2 lake, that they'd never done it. But when I got out there 2 days later, I thought about Bob detailing, which we gave him approval 4 or 5 years ago. And from the lake side to there, he might be at 200 yards or another half a block from what this lady is. And we have done it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not on the lake side, they're across from the lake. Just like the other ones.
Neil, did you have something to add?
Just one point to remind you that this is a conditional use, so that means that you have the right to put conditions on that if you think that is appropriate. I do recall one that I believe one of the neighbors that called me about it was years and years ago. This was probably 10, 12 years ago. We did have a gentleman further down on the lake that was applying for a detail shop out of their garage, and I think that got denied. But I don't recall the name. I just kind of remember the general area. But I think it was a little closer to the lake as well. But that's probably the last one, and then other than Porter's is probably the one that comes to mind.
You said you're going to have 2 clients or at any one time, and they are going to be in the driveway, right?
Right.
We got a house at 185 South Harmon Drive, just right down the street, about 2-3 houses from where you are on the other side. I don't see where it's going to be a problem, so.
Well, that's where my concern is, if there's something else out here speaking of, but I just don't know where it's gonna be any kind of concern for the neighborhood. I mean, she's got a driveway bigger than I do, and I can park 3 cars in my driveway, and so I'm just looking at, it's not gonna be out in the road, it's not gonna be parked on North Harmon Drive, it's gonna be in her driveway, her customers are. She's by herself, it's not like there's 5 people in there cutting hair, it's one person. You can, like you said, an overlap, you might have 2 customers there. I really honestly think the neighbors won't even know what she's doing inside the house, besides the fact that,
It can't be any
we know that it's there.
worse.
I mean,
Marty, it can't be any worse than cars parked alongside of the road when on holidays. You usually park, it's quite a narrow road. And they're
There's
parked on
crazy.
both sides, you got 1 car going down there, so you having 2 cars in the driveway can't be a huge problem, in my opinion.
right. And you know, if, like you said, with the conditional use, if we want to put on, I don't like doing it, but we've done it before, a review from a year from now to see if there's any additional issues, maybe something like that. But I question that also. I'm just throwing it out there. We have done that before. I think this is a mute situation, and it's
That's
going to be
a good
fine.
idea. Some of these comments of certain areas of town, we just don't do. That's why we have a planning commission, that's why we have zoning orders and laws, and we got conditional uses. That we spend a lot of time on what fits an area and what does not. So there's a process. So saying that this certain area of town should never have one, I don't think that has any bearing or any weight. Now getting to the facts of it, we went to the planning commission and everybody had the ability to come in. It sounded like there was nobody there in opposition or in favor, it sounded like. But the discussion was, okay, we're going to vote it down because of the possibility of one individual. And to me, the system is working perfectly, but it sounds to me like you might need to, in my mind, visit with the neighbors a little bit more, because I think there are some neighbors in that area that feel that it is going to affect there. And to be quite honest, I don't know if I'm leaning toward yes or no right now, but I like the fact of what Marty is saying of maybe giving it some time. But what I would like to do is have you circle back around and see if you can visit with the neighbors, get with their concerns, and then have the ability to maybe everybody come in next time while we're making our decision. We're missing 2 council people here tonight also, so this is razor thin if we try to move forward. And if we don't act on this, if it does not get approved tonight, it's 6 months.
Yeah. What if you vote to deny?
If we vote to,
6 months before you get another application.
right. So I don't know where you guys are at or not, but what I would like to see is have Tara circle back around and maybe visit. And then they might still have their same concerns, and then we can vote up or down if we think it's going to affect the area or not. And I don't know if that's a good or bad plan, but we just shocked you with Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, kind of.
So that wasn't fair to you that you just found out about it.
And just to make sure you know, Tara, it was said before, but we need 6 votes, even
Right.
with the other 2 being gone, so all 6 of us need to be in favor of you.
Got it.
Or
like we got
against
5
the
now.
planning, so if there's 1 vote that would not, you'd be down to 6.
Got it.
You know, with 2 more sitting over there, not saying it's gonna help or negative, but it might be good, like I said, what Jeff's asking is maybe circle around, talk to Mr. Anderson, and, because some of his concerns, you know, they're almost repetitious to some extent, a few of them. And
Okay.
it might be just more of a sit down, and I think it might be benefit to help you, and hopefully in 2 weeks, if you're okay to wait 2 weeks, I don't know what your situation is at.
Yeah, I
The
can
current
wait.
place that you have and own and operate, might be the best thing that happened, and we can still.
I can do that.
for you, so. I mean, I think that's what you're getting at, Jeff, right?
I am. I'm just got a feeling that, well, in my mind, the system's working perfect, and neighbors are saying, not here, no thank you, not across the street. So, again, I'm not saying that this area should or should not have them, but I'm not taking any bearing on that. It's basically the 2 that have spoke up against it, and I think the system works perfectly.
You want to make a
Now
motion to
it's
table it then,
do that. So
Jeff?
I'll make that motion to table for 2 weeks.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second, even though I am currently in favor of it, I will still motion to table for
Okay.
2 weeks.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries to table it 2 weeks. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Okay, entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll move down to item number 19. First reading on ordinance number 2017-13, 2018 annual appropriation ordinance.
Included in your packet was the full ordinance prepared based off of the last discussions and direction we received from council at the last work session. I also provided in the packet a overview sheet that just kind of walks through where the current budget is with revenue projections, expenditures, what the special revenue funds look like, as well as the enterprise funds and entertainment tax fund. Furthermore, I also, on this one, the capital improvement budget, I did update that to reflect the changes that you guys have discussed in your 2 budget work sessions and what's currently included in the budget as proposed. So I can answer questions, I can walk through this if the council chooses, or you can wait till your second hearing at the next meeting.
One question, and I'm on page 169, I guess I'm not sure what page it is on there. Amount certified to the county auditor, $4,928,361. Is that more or less than we got last year?
It would be more by the CPI percentage. We don't have the growth numbers yet.
Yeah, okay.
So that
So that's
also
our-
could change
Okay.
before the next meeting.
And I believe I have that broke out here for you on the revenue change. The property tax increase is $48,796, and that was the CPI for property tax, which was 1%.
The other comment I have, and during the election campaigning, a lot of the questions came up, at least in my discussion with the people that were running against me, of it's very difficult to figure out what the budget is and can it be on one page and that type of stuff. But as I don't know, as I look through here and I'm looking on page 169 and page 168 and 167 in our packet, they're fairly clear on one page as to, how much are the governmental funds, 2.8 million, public safety, police 3.4 million, fire 1.2 million, E911 ambulance $1 million, public works 6.2 million, health and welfare 1.5 million, culture and recreation, which pulls in the parks and then which places those come from, 3.2 million, and then how much do we spend on the library, 668,000. I mean, by looking at just a couple pages, I can come up with how much we're spending on each department. Now, if I want intimate details of how much does Joe make and how much does the Corn Palace cost for electricity and that type of stuff, yeah, I've got to dig in a lot more, but those weren't the type of questions I was getting. I was just, well, we can't tell how much we spend on fire, we can't tell how much we spend on the finance office or whatever, but these look pretty straightforward to me. So I don't know if it's still in accounting form.
Well, and I would just state, that's why I do the administrative overview that's in there too. Right.
And I agree, and I appreciate that, but still some people will look at that and say it's more than one page and I'm not going to read it. And I don't know how to boil it down to one page, but
this is the prescribed format from Department of Legislative Audit.
Yep, I knew
and so
that.
this is how it needs to be presented at this level, I guess. But Stephanie does do the overview to make it clear for anyone that wants to read it.
And typically what we do after the council actually approves the budget is I do take that down and put it into some graphic formats, and we've used that with Leadership Brookings presentations. It was in the work session that we had in February where we looked at what percentage of the overall funds went to law enforcement versus public works as well. And we can also put those available on the website too after the council approves the budget.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And this is obviously, the overview that's more of the narrative. If people want to get into the detail of that, that's online.
That's online.
Yep.
Already. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll make the motion to approve first reading of ordinance 2017-13, appropriation ordinance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve change decorative downtown lighting from metal halide to LED.
About 9 months ago, I began looking at putting LED lights on the green decorative poles downtown, of which there are about 180. At that time, whether you noticed or not, we did put an LED light at the corner of First and Main on the corner of the new Veterans Park. That has been lit with an LED light now for about 8 months. So if you didn't notice it, you didn't notice it. if you knew about it, it's about the only way you were going to notice it. Quote from Muth Electric, who figured the savings on this by the energy used between the two bulbs. They figured the energy savings at about $7,740 per year, which based solely on that would give us a payback by switching to LED of the 180 lights downtown, a payback of 3.1 years. However, I did a little calculation of my own, and those lights, based on 11 hours per day over the course of a year, run about $4 per light, yet we're paying $8 rent per light to Northwestern. That's why I've got these being metered now. By this proposal, we'll put in 3 meters, and we'll actually have meters read, and that should create a payback of better than the 3.1 years we've already figured. So we're using $4 in energy per light bulb, paying $8. They all do have 110-volt plug-in for Christmas lights and different things, so the energy use of the structure is probably a little higher, but not much higher than $4. So I think our payback very conservatively is 3 years.
Did they give you an indication of how many total hours a bulb would be or a light would be?
They did, and I don't think I put it in here, but it's tremendous how long these things last compared to the metal halide that are in there. I don't recall a number. I'm not going to spout out a number.
Do we know how many of the metal halides we've changed in the last?
Well, traffic is not under Public Works is the problem, and I don't think traffic is here tonight, but they are changed occasionally at least. I think it'd be a great test. There are 2 colors. We put the white bulb in at First and Main. We've since been told that there is a bulb with a little more natural yellow color to it that people prefer quite a bit. So I think we'll probably put the slightly yellow bulb in. A little warmer color.
And then I just do have to make a point to council that if you approve going forward, it's a potential contingency request. I do believe that probably traffic budget has typically had significant budget left over.
That was my question. If there's money left over in traffic, we can take it from there. If not, it would be contingency.
Right.
For up to
25,000.
24,034.
Right. So what I would do is I would just leave it like this, earmarked, knowing that that's going to leave you with, 160,892 for a worst case scenario in your contingency of this this year. I still have a high amount for sales tax just because we saw an increase last month, but it had been down significantly up till that point. So that could be adjusted when we get probably into November to know where we're actually going to be. But I do like to make sure that you have your worst case here so that you stay with your balanced budget.
Yeah, that was out of contingency, or that was my question.
We only do the transfer if it's necessary in that departmental budget.
Tim, would they start right away, or when would this be going on?
Yeah, I believe they'd start fairly soon.
Move to approve.
Yeah, I like the fact that we're trying to be more energy efficient, and the fact that you're going to put meters on so that you know for sure. So I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to award bid for rock salt Supply City Project number 2017-27.
This would be Public Works, I believe, the street.
That looks like a good price, so I'm going to move to approve.
I can read
It
the
looks
staff
like
report for you.
Blackstrap Inc. was the lowest.
Yeah, they're a new one. We've never had them before.
Any concerns with that?
No.
And we also don't have the budget amount in here for the year. Do you know how much was in the budget?
Well, we just kind of bid out the tonnage and.
You don't know what we have included?
Not.
Okay.
It kind of runs through us 16, 17, then 17, 18. Is it similar to last year? It's actually a little bit lower price than last year's.
Who did we get it from the last 2 years?
Well, we had Nebraska and Meridian last couple of years. It seems to always change. It depends, just depends a little bit. Most of it's coming out of Nebraska area. This will be 3 years in a row. This is a different bidder now. It always seems like there's always someone else that wants in the game with the salt.
Isn't it generally a trucking company that bids this? It's not a salt company.
No, it's actually, they're all trucking companies. That's,
They all out of Omaha?
no, well, they're all mostly in the Nebraska area. That's kind of where the salt pits are. It's either that or out in Wyoming.
For a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Steve.
Action to approve agreement number A 2017-24, amended rural fire service agreement, Mitchell Rural Fire District.
Paul Morris, Assistant Fire Chief. This is an amendment to the contract that was approved about a month ago, and what's changed is we're adding land from portions of Hanson, Plano, Perry, and Badger Townships.
So our price out there got some people's attention, and they
Yep, they
think
actually
they can make it work?
Yep, the night after we had approved it here in council, that next night, they had the vote from those people in those areas, and they approved it overwhelmingly, and so that's why we're here to amend this.
Move approval of the amended rural service fire agreement.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to table R 2017-40 indefinitely. Vacation of public right-of-way described as the north one half of Andrews Street, abutting Block 21, Weaver Squares addition. In addition to the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, as shown on the plat recorded March 1st, 2017, Book 32, page 3, this portion of East Andrews Street has been described historically as Avenue K East and Avenue K.
This is per the request of the legal counsel representing them. I know Justin and I have been talking to them about, and so what Justin's recommendation was just to make this done indefinitely, so we don't have to keep carrying it over. When they get it resolved, then they'll come back, I guess. This is down by the newer Habitat houses on South Kimball. There's a part of the street that there was vacated, but another 33-foot strip was not. And they caught it during a title search when they. Yes, in that approximate area. So, but they're trying to resolve this. So, we just said instead of having to keep coming back, just have it indefinitely, and we'll put it back once they're ready.
And does the Habitat stuff have to have this resolved before it can go forward? I'm trying to.
That I'm not
figuring out if we'll ever see it again.
that I'm not. I don't know. All I was with first the instructions from their counsel is there what I try to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe this affects Habitat.
No.
Move to table indefinitely.
Oh, I'm back.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on resolution R 2017-59, a plat of Lot 1, Block 4A of Westwood First Edition, a subdivision of a portion of tract 8-2 in Block 4 of Westwood First Edition in the northwest quarter of Section 16, T103 North, R60 West of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota.
This was presented to the Planning Commission at their last meeting, not today's, the previous one, and they did recommend approval. This is up on the 21st Street, south of those newer apartments that are being built. There's a couple twin homes out there.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on Resolution 2017-60, a plat of Lot 2 and the replat of Track G Wild Oak Golf Club, addition to the City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this was presented to the Planning Commission. They did recommend approval. This is out in the Wild Oak area.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on Resolution R 2017-61, a plat of Lot 3 and the replat of Track H Wild Oak Golf Club, addition to the City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this was presented to Planning Commission. Did recommend approval.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on Resolution R 2017-62, a resolution relating to lease purchase of the aquatic facility project in an amount not to exceed $2,500,000, authorizing the execution and delivery of a ground lease, and approving and authorizing execution of related documents.
Included in your packet was a staff report explaining that this resolution is the first step in securing the financing for the $1 million contribution from the bid, as well as the hotel bid, as well as a $1 million contribution from the Mitchell Aquatics Club and the $200,000 contribution from the Pepsi contract for beverage rights for the slide. We would issue the lease purchase bonds. This was also discussed in the referred I don't know, the referred resolution when the original action was taken on the pool. And then the payback comes from those three payment sources. So the city pays off those bonds from the money that's received from the Mitchell Aquatics Club, as well as the hotel bid, as well as the contract from Pepsi. We did have, Michelle and I had conversations with Toby, I don't know, 3 weeks ago probably now, about getting competitive financing, placing these locally, making sure that we have in there that we can pay them off early. That's part of why you want to do the lease purchase financing versus traditional bonds, so that we're going to get more revenue in earlier from, like, for example, MAC than what the payments required. So we'll have some cash sitting there so we can pay off those bonds early. This is the, when we looked at it, this was just the best cost-effective way to do the financing of that portion.
So part of this package, a little bit benefit of John and Kevin that weren't on here at the time, is the $1 million that we're raising from the hotel bid. We were at $1 for the hotel bid up to, let's get close to a year now. And then 50 cents was going to pay off the second sheet of ice, and 50 cents was going to the Sports and Events Authority. And so what the MAC people did was get with the hotels and work with them and said, would you be willing to help us collect $1 million of people that will be at the hotels? And then they said yes. So then what they did was they raised $1 up to $1.50. So now $1 was going toward the payment of the second sheet, and I believe that has now paid off, Michelle? Okay, so that accelerated that, so now we're completely done with gathering money for that. Now everything is going toward paying for the pool. The 50 cents still remained on the Sports and Events Authority, and then the $1 will go toward this lease purchase. So just so a little bit of history, you probably read about it, but just so you're aware of it.
And I should explain the reason why we didn't have to do the financing right when we started construction is because there is $6 million of current cash being applied towards the project. So we're already paying those expenses on the pool, which you've probably seen come through on the bill claims every month. But this is now just to get us through the end of the financing, which probably will be needed later this fall, early next winter.
So that brings up a point. Is that, do we have the possibility of paying these off early?
Yes,
No
we talked about that. And knowing that we're getting more in ahead of time, but keeping that at a level that what we're receiving will pay off that annual payment. So we had always planned on timing this about fall. We do have to go through a 20-day referral timeframe on this, so once that expires, then we can go ahead and issue the financing.
Stephanie, we have the same thing of the lease purchase on the aquatic outdoor pool, don't we?
Correct.
So that is,
This is the one method that doesn't go against your constitutional debt. I know we've talked about that at times in the past. So this is the one method of financing that doesn't go against your constitutional debt.
Is there a motion?
move to approve resolution 2017-62.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Entertaining motion to enter into executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 4, preparing for contract negotiations. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Question for you. You were at that planning meeting in July. You really think nobody had concerns about odor at that meeting?
Do I?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think location is a big thing. And was there some, yeah, some we could see around.
Kevin, I saw you smiling back there when they were talking about.
Yeah. Well, this is what it is, right? Well, I wanted to check in with you. I knew you were there. I knew.
Yeah, I was there, and did they? Some of them did.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they?
Yeah. Well,